are here with strength and conditioning, the bottom line, with my man, Rich Williams, a 20-year NBA veteran strength and conditioning coach. So today, we're going to actually just introduce you to Rich Williams, get a little bit of his background, some of his thoughts around strength and conditioning, and where his visions or his passions are going forward in the near future. So first and foremost, Rich, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I'm blessed. Just happy to be here with you, my man Mike, and I'm just ready to talk strength and conditioning, man.
I love it. Well, that's a good thing. Well, talking strength and conditioning, you had to have a process to getting here. Give us a little bit about your backstory, in regards to how you got into strength and conditioning.
Yeah, I think my backstory came with just my love for sport, and my love I played sports my whole life, particularly basketball. Went off and played in college, and then like most athletes, I realized that I wasn't going to that next level to make a career out of it. So it's just one of those things, searching for my place in the world, and it led me to strength and conditioning. Man, I never forget, we were in practice, and twice a week, I believe, we would go into the weight room, and there'd be a guy there who was just involuntary. He would come in there, work us out, and I was like, man, what do you do? Like, what is this? He's like, no, I'm a trainer. Like, I design workouts to help guys get strong. I'm like, man, that's kind of cool. And from there, I just kind of kept that in the back of my head. And when my career was over, I just remember thinking, like, man, I gotta be involved in sports. This is my life. And I know I can't play, but I still want to be involved in it. And man, so I just picked up my bags. Me and my girlfriend at the time, we went to Colorado, and I studied kinesiology. And then just one day, man, I met a guy who took me to Denver and introduced me to the strength coach from the Nuggets. And from there, I was just like, I got an internship with the Nuggets, and man, it's crazy. I think I was 23, 24. And man, been in the NBA ever since then. Now I'm a current strength coach with the New York Knicks.
Wow. And so it started with passion. It started with your interest. But then when you fast forward, you've gotten over 2 decades now of doing strength and conditioning at the highest level with the most elite athletes in the world.
Yeah, man. I just, I always, you try to be humble. For me, it's just always right being in the right place at the right time. But it was always taking advantage of the opportunity too. When the opportunity was presented to me, I felt like I was maybe not technique ready, but mentally I was ready. And you know what I'm saying? By mentally, meaning you're ready mentally for the grind. You're ready to put in the work. You're ready to do all the late night works. All the things that it takes to keep you in that position, you're ready to do. So mentally, I was sharp. I was ready. Like, what did you need? What you need me to do? You need me to come and be there all night? I'm there all night. So, I was just mentally ready to do the job. I just needed the technique of learning how to be a strength coach to do it. And that's kind of where I started.
And it's interesting because, you started with the passion, then you learned the technique, you married the two, and it's led to over 20 years in the NBA. Talk to us a little bit about some of the impact, like some of the players that you've worked with. And do you have any stories in your mind that stand out in regards to how strength and conditioning has impacted them?
I don't ever like to say players. I don't ever like to say players' name that I work with too much, but
absolutely.
I remember Sean Livingston. I say his name. He's an unbelievable guy. And Sean Livingston had a tough injury. And I remember just feeling bad. Like, man, and you know how it is. It's that self-doubt of yourself. Like, could I've done better? Should I have learned more? What should I have done to help this kid? And I just remember, like, okay, it happened. Let's deal with this. So as he was trying to find himself, I was trying to find myself, how to get him back to health. So that was my impactful moment, knowing that, man, if I help this kid get back on the court and get back to health, man, I just saved the kid's career. And it's funny, I remember one day he playing for another team, and I remember looking across, and I remember just thinking how proud I was of him for working with me, getting back on his feet, going off and finishing his NBA career. And me and him gave a nod to each other. And I felt like it was just a nod of respect, like a nod of thank you. But I actually was saying thank you to him because he was giving a young strength coach an opportunity to rehab with him and to go through all the processes of a rehab. I'm literally learning. I'm learning as I'm rehabbing myself. He's learning how to deal with a major injury. And, so it's always that level of respect. And that's when I realized that, dang, my job is impactful.
Ooh, that's
so it just keeps going. It just keeps going with players. And don't get me wrong, it sometimes you do wrong, sometimes you do bad. Sometimes you're not as good strength coach as you want to be that day. Sometimes you're great. But I started to learn the impact of being with a player because as you're going up and down, they're also going up and down. So the impact is always the fact in me is that when you come into my weight room, you're going to always get that effort, but you're always going to get that person who's going to go on the up and downs with you.
Oh, wow. You're going to ride the roller coaster with you.
It's a roller coaster. They know that, man, he's going to be on this roller coaster. They know that when I have a bad day, when I have an injury, he's going to be there to help me ride that roller coaster.
It's interesting you say that because I heard something a long time ago and it said the only one who gets hurt on the roller coaster is the one that jumps off.
Exactly.
So you're going to, that's it. You're going to ride with them on the roller coaster, the ups and downs. You're going to learn together, but it's extremely important. And what's interesting about it is, you talk about your impact. And you talk about this one case with Sean Livingston. And for those that aren't familiar with his story, just Google the injury that he dealt with, and you'll see the impact that strength and conditioning played in his comeback story.
Exactly.
But then, so that's talking about what you've done and some impact that you've had. Tell us a little snippet about where your passion is also now going forward.
Well, it's almost like that. You make an impact. I feel like being here in my position, we make impacts. Of course we do. But I always felt that I want to make an impact with the people who don't have it. With the athletes who don't have this knowledge of what I have. Take that back. The athletes who don't get a chance to reap the rewards of the knowledge that I have. Or the same kid that's somewhere playing basketball at one point that knows he won't be able to play it professionally, that want to be in sports, looking for an avenue to take. Because it's always in the back of your mind. Even when you're playing, it's in the back of your mind. And I don't care who you are, it's in the back of your mind like, dang, I might be a freshman there, but at some point I'm going to be a senior. And at some point when I take this jersey off, I ain't going to put it back on.
Hold on 1 second. So to me, it sounds like part of, or the root to your passion is you want to create a pathway for people who are similar to yourself, meaning they play the sport of basketball, but maybe are not going to go professional as an athlete. You want them to have other options, other avenues to explore, in the realm of basketball. Correct?
Exactly. And that vision really led me to Africa. That's where it led me.
The continent of Africa.
It led me to the continent of Africa, and I've always had a love for it from the first time I went. I've always had a calling there. It's always kind of been a place I've grown near to, and I went there this summer, and then I saw the need for what I could bring. It was just obvious in the sports world in Africa, but more importantly, I saw the need to provide it to people who are looking for a place to call their home in their careers. If that makes sense, So you always got kids are just searching for ways to make their impact. Like I was able to make an impact on the NBA and on NBA players. And I think if you can take my knowledge and install it into kids on the continent of Africa, their impact will be greater than any impact I can make over here.
That's powerful. And what's interesting as well, by you having a passion for sharing your knowledge, sharing your story, but then also, and we'll talk about it a little later, creating a pathway for them to get there. You're also not necessarily discovering unrefined products. You're actually about helping to create, full end products, or you're helping to create full professionals, or you're helping to create individuals and professionals who are competing on the worldwide stage as strength and conditioning professionals, using the knowledge, the skills, the talent that you have, but just basically presenting it to them in a way that makes sense, that they can now go and create value, in the world, in the
Exactly.
realm of sports.
Exactly. And that you hit it right on the nail. Like I always have to reintroduce this story to people that I'm not trying to train athletes. I'm trying to just basically train the people to train their own athletes. That's what, to me, that's the impact. It's not me coming over there, a strength coach in the NBA. I'm going to make your athletes better. No, I'm not going to make it. Your own people are going to make your athletes better. I'm going to give them something. I'm going to give them knowledge and resources and different type of thinking to help them do that.
That's such a powerful thing, and I think that is a perfect segue into really taking it back to the whole notion of strength and conditioning. This is strength and conditioning, the bottom line, but we first have to start off with what is strength and conditioning.
Well, I had a great conversation with a friend, and we talked about this exact same subject, and I said, I'm gonna keep it really simple for you. It's a difference between exercise and training. Exercise is training for the moment, right? It's going in there, getting the sweat. You're training for that day. Training is training for a particular goal for the future.
Okay.
That's strength and conditioning. Now let's break that down. When I do strength and conditioning, I'm assessing a player, I'm assessing his weaknesses, and I'm assessing his strength. I'm going to create a program to improve on his strengths and reduce his weaknesses, to get him to a certain goal that he wants to get to. For example, if he say, look, we assess the guy, we find out that, he's really bad at agilities. So I'm going to create a goal. The goal is to improve his agility. I'm going to create a strength and conditioning that's tailored around improving his agility. So what I'm doing is putting together a program to improve and to accomplish a certain goal in the future, which is the season.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
I always tell people, you got to remember that when you exercise, you're exercising for that day. When you're training to accomplish a goal in the future. Strength and conditioning is training, putting together programs to accomplish a goal for the future. That future is the up and coming season.
That's amazing. And so I guess taking it a step further, how does effective strength and conditioning impact sports?
I think the best way to look, if you want to look at the bottom line of it, is you got to look at, let's take this for example, injury prevention.
Okay.
Right? It's very simple. If your best player is on the court, then revenue stays high, winning stays high, the stands, people come and watch the games. So if he stays hurt, what goes down? Revenue goes down. Not as many people want to watch. The best player's not playing. The wins go down. So injury prevention, the best way to win. This coach told me this a long time ago. You know what the key is to win a championship? Player availability. If players are on the court, you got a good chance of winning the championship. If your best players ain't on the court, then you can't win the championship. So you look at the bottom line, how does strength conditioning impact sports? Shoot, if you look at the bottom line, we create programs to help players stay on the court so revenues can stay higher, winning can stay high, winning percentage can stay high, fans can stay in the stands because they can come every night and see their best player play. That's bottom line.
You keep players on the court.
You keep them on the court. You keep that now. Now let's break it even down farther. You make them better. You increase their strength. You increase their agility. You increase their speed. They become better athletes, better players. Better players, more people want to come watch better players.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, he's getting better. He's actually fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I want to go see him.
Mm-hmm.
He is entertaining. He went 1 year from not being able to run fast to the next year being able to run even faster. What does that make him? That makes him more entertainable.
Mm-hmm.
It makes people want to come see him more.
More marketable,
More marketable.
endorsement deals,
More
everything.
endorsement deals for the team, more people in the stands. So if you want to look at the bottom line, strength and conditioning will always play a role in the bottom line of revenue, wins and losses, fans availability. It always play an impact. It always have an impact in that.
I want to throw another question, and it's not really a curveball, but you're talking about it from the standpoint of revenue in the global sense, meaning the organizations, can maximize revenue, can minimize losses, endorsement deals, and all of that. I want you to tap into the impact of strength and conditioning long term on the player. So when you think about after basketball, you think about living life, because again, your body is not designed per se to be a professional athlete,
Not at all.
right? So you
Not
put
at all.
all kind of wear and tear on your body. How does effective strength and conditioning help the bottom line for the actual individual athlete?
Oh, I love that. Let's break this down though. So I would say what we've gotten so much better at is being able to predict injuries. And you can't always predict these things happen, but assessing potential injuries, like the tools that we have at our disposal right now for assessing injuries, is unbelievable. And it's only getting better. So imagine having the tool of assessing a player and say, man, that could be a potential problem down the line for you. Let's address that. We know how to address that because we assessed and we saw it. So we address it, right? So now that doesn't become an issue. Now that player who could potentially have that knee injury doesn't have it. So now he's playing even longer. I mean, it's no secret. Have you noticed that players are playing longer
Mm-hmm.
and still playing at a high level? And if you ever look at the background of what they've done, man, they tell you that, oh man, I started eating better. I dedicated more time to strength and conditioning program, to mobility programs. I mean, it's not a secret. It's all there. So if you look at the impact on that individual player that puts the money into his body, which is nutrition, strength and conditioning, all the parts that go into being performance, they usually play longer at a higher rate for a long time.
I want to even take it deeper than that. Let's think about after basketball, right? Because again, strength and conditioning and taking care of yourself while you're playing, how does that impact your life after basketball?
Well, it's so funny because those players that get it, it becomes how do you say it, a part of their life now, right? Like, so even when they're done playing, I always like to, I love hearing the stories of like Ray Allen and Steve Nash and how you see them after basketball, you see them still in great shape, still like eating right. I think I saw Ray Allen like riding his bike on the web. So it becomes their life, right? Now it becomes health. Like, no, now I'm going from being an athlete to being like, no, my health is important to me.
That's right.
Right? That starts with that strength and conditioning, installing that when they play, they always take it there. They get into it. Now you're getting like basketball players that are like actually investing in strength and conditioning, invested in gyms, and it's great. It becomes their life.
Wow. That's and it's interesting because I like the fact that it's not just about the sport of basketball. This connects the dots to living a holistic and well life. It's about wellness even beyond the sport. So you want to connect the dots and, strength and conditioning, the bottom line financially to the organization, the bottom line financially to the player, but then the bottom line wellness in life after basketball for those involved. And that's why strength and conditioning is the bottom line. And as we kind of wrap up our conversation today, You mentioned before how your passion is taking your experience to the continent of Africa. What are some of the visions that you could see with the things that you just mentioned, assessments and injury prevention and sports science and program design? What are some of the visions that you see that we'll talk about further in strength and conditioning, the bottom line, for the continent of Africa and what it is you have in store?
I think my first vision is this: talking about it, bringing awareness to it, what it's about, how impactful it is. I think that's the first vision. I know me and you had talks beyond this about how to introduce this to the world of Africa and the continent of Africa, but it starts there. And I've always had a vision of having this sense of a round table, these discussions of detailed discussion of how it impacts, strength and conditioning impacts the world, and then once we get that awareness out there, where do we go from there? My vision would always be, whatever, I want to start some type of association where they have opportunities to gain knowledge, apply it, and continue to learn it. And I mean they, meaning anybody who wants to be in the health and wellness field, the performance field on the continent of Africa. And
that is a
I
great
think that's
mission.
where it starts for me. I think that's where it starts and where it ends.
That's a great mission, and definitely that is going to happen going forward. And to your point, having conversations, I think in the very near future, what we need to do is tap into some of the brothers and sisters that are in sports on the continent of Africa and maybe bring them on to ask you a few questions about the realm of strength and conditioning, and just kind of tap your expertise, and also allow them to give some contextual information about some of the specific things they're dealing with. Because again, they may be playing the sport of basketball, but it may be some different types of injuries, maybe due to equipment, due to facilities, due to nutrition that they may be facing, that aren't issues that you're seeing here, but they can give you the context, and then you can wrap your experience around it to help formulate solutions. Maybe with strength and conditioning, the bottom line, that'll be something that we do in the very near future.
Sure. I say we even take it farther than that. It doesn't even, I mean, I'm talking about businessman.
Yes.
It's so broad, right?
Yes.
That how strength and conditioning impacts just not the people that are involved in the sport, but also all other factors in life as well.
Because, to your point, it's a bigger mission, because just that person who has no connection to sport, they can understand how strength and conditioning can help their wellness, can help impact their quality of life. And you even mentioned with the sports science, being able to predict and or forecast where there's some deficits, and you can get ahead of them before they happen. If that were introduced to not just in the continent of Africa, but even here in America, if we had access to that technology, that would actually be a game changer for us, because usually we don't go to the physical therapist, to the trainer, to the doctor until something's already injured. Exactly. Whereas if we could have a forecasting thing or some type of predictive methodology or model, that could save us a lot of time, hurt, energy, and allow us to prevent as opposed to rehab the injury.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I use my dad as an example. He early on in his work life, he was picking up boxes, and I couldn't imagine if he hurt his back, how things could have went for us and our family. So no, I completely agree with you.
Wow, man. Well, this was a really awesome conversation with strength and conditioning, the bottom line, with NBA veteran strength and conditioning coach Rich Williams, currently with the New York Knicks. And so I'm looking forward to having conversations going forward. This is Mike D. And until next time, we will talk to you later.
Yes, sir.
All right.